Hello everyone and welcome to this chit-chatty video all about books and reading. I'm really excited to talk to you about books today because it's become a big part of my life, and if you saw this video last year you will already know a bit of a backstory about how I got back into reading, but I am going to talk to you a little bit more about it today. I'm going to show you the books that I gave 5 stars to last year in 2022, the books I've already read so far this year in 2023, and of course all the ones that are on my to be read, which is honestly fairly embarrassing how many books I have stacking up. It's bringing me a lot of joy. It's bringing me so much joy. On reflection, I can see why reading became bigger for me last year, and I noticed that when I was reading a book quickly or I went through a few books, it was normally when something else was going on in my personal life. I would gravitate towards reading as a way of escapism, and especially towards the end of last year and even the beginning of this year, I've not been watching as many TV shows, I've not been playing on my Nintendo Switch, and my downtime really has been books first as my priority, and I'm not mad at it. I've really loved reading. I've even sorted out my bookshelf in my office so I can have more space to have more books, and I just love that I found my groove again. And someone asked me on Instagram the other day, like, how do you get into a book? I thought that was quite a good question. I don't really hear people like talking about that. And for me, I have dedicated reading time. So I try and do either first thing in the morning or last thing at night before I go to bed, sometimes both. Obviously I have very flexible hours and I can wake up at 7, let Bonnie out and, you know, do the morning routine, and then I might get back into bed and read for half an hour, or I might sit in the kitchen on the sofa while she's, you know, eating her breakfast and stuff, and I'll read then. So it's just about finding times. I love reading on the train or when I'm traveling, and especially before bed, like an hour before. If I'm not really in the mood or the headspace, I'll just tell myself I'll read a chapter, and then if I'm obviously enjoying it, I'll just keep going. And Ben just normally typically watching something on his iPad next to me, and that has been our routine. But some of these books have honestly like saved me on those days where I felt like I don't want to focus on anything else going on in my life, and I can just put myself in these worlds. And last year I was trying to work out what books I actually like, and I felt a lot of pressure to not only read a lot, but I was a bit intimidated by the book community, book talk, and people that read a lot and write reviews. But so many of you on Instagram were so kind and give me so many recommendations, and I ended up really finding my feet in terms of the authors I like and the genre, which is very clearly a romance. I love very much women's focused fiction. I read a lot of books where the character is around the same age that I am. If I find an author I like, I normally try and read a lot more of their other books. So you'll see very quickly which ones took the top spots for me last year. I think reading can sometimes feel a bit competitive. I saw someone tweet about this the other day, and it's not about how many books you read. It's more if you enjoy it, like it brings you joy and you find time and you want to be part of like talking about books and, you know, having a conversation here, then that's great. And if you read one a month or one a year, it really doesn't matter. It's not about that. But when you find something you really love and it becomes a big part of who you are, that's really cool. And the other day I was applying for my optician's health checkup for my contact lenses, and one of the questions was, what are your hobbies? And immediately I wrote down like travel, walking my dog, reading, and reading now just becomes something that I love. And so that's why I want to make this video today. I want to talk to you more about the books that I've fallen in love with, but you'll see the kind of things I like reading. If you're the kind of person that loves the same kind of things as me, this may give you some inspiration. And if you of course have any recommendations you want to give me, leave them below. If you want to see me go book shopping and join my local library and all that kind of chat, I did that in the last video. Today we're just gonna go through the books. So I'm gonna start with the ones that I gave 5 stars to last year. I actually couldn't remember, so I had to go back through. So like I said, 17 books. I gave 6 5 stars, so these are them here. The first book I gave 5 stars to was The Flat Share, which is by Beth O'Leary. This has been made into a TV series on Paramount Plus. I have not had the chance to watch it yet because I've been too busy reading, but I really do want to watch it. This is such a nice, wholesome read about a guy and a girl that basically essentially share a flat together, but they're not in the flat at the same time. So they share a bed, and one of them works night shifts and one of them works obviously during the day, and they just don't ever cross paths, so they leave notes for each other, and that's the premise of the book. I'm not going to talk you through the premise of every single one of these books because we'll be here all day, but this was the first one I gave 5 stars to, which is why it was important for me to talk about it, because it was the book that really, like, I felt the most gripped to. I read it really quickly, and I realise now that I like a book that's not too thick, because then I feel intimidated by it otherwise. And I like if the font and the size is easy to read, and this was just one of those ones where the chapters weren't too big either. There's a few things of reading that I have picked up on things I like, but Beth O'Leary became the author for me that I wanted to read all her books after this. So I did end up reading The Road Trip and The Switch as well, which I didn't love as much, but then I read this hardback, and I didn't love hardbacks at the beginning, but now if it's a book I really want to read, I don't really mind, as long as I'm not travelling, because it's a bit too heavy. But this was The No Show, also Beth O'Leary. Again, I gave this 5 stars. I didn't know where this was going, and then right at the end there's quite a big twist. And then I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't see it coming. And then when I read people's reviews, everyone was like, saw the twist coming. And there was me, like, I'm the kind of person when I watch movies, I don't see it. I just don't see, like, who the killer is or how it will end up. I do let myself really be in the moment when it comes to the books. I'm sure as I read more, they'll become more predictable. But for now, Beth O'Leary won me as sort of a fantastic author to get me into reading. Then the next author I fell in love with was Emily Henry. So I've read 3 of her books, and I've pre-ordered her new one coming out in the summer, but I didn't like You and Me on Vacation, which is the other one she has. I think I gave that 3 stars, but Beach Read and Book Lovers, I gave 5 stars to both of them. And even reading the back, they sound similar, because 2 of the characters are in the, like, literary agent book publishing world, and I'm sure she obviously just is writing about things she knows, which made it even more realistic to me. So I read Book Lovers first, and my review on Goodreads, I put, easily my favourite book so far this year. I loved everything about it. It's sexy, funny, and so gripping. The ending had me cry too. This is my first book by Emily Henry, and now I'm looking forward to reading her others. On the back, it says Schitt's Creek for book nerds, which is kind of a good way to describe it. I loved this so much. And then when it came to Beach Read, I had read You and Me on Vacation, so I didn't have like high expectations for it. But on this one, I said, I've read all 3 of Emily's books now, and this surprised me so much. I expected a light, easy beach read, literally, but it was so moving and had me sobbing towards the end. I love January and Gus, the characters in the book. Beautiful words about love, grief, loss, and discovering who we are. So that was the review I gave to that. And yeah, I mean, that does what it says. It was really good. Emily Henry made me cry in both books, which is interesting. I don't cry in all of them, but they made me cry, so I was happy with those. Another one I gave 5 stars to was The Unhoneymooners by Christine Lauren. I took this on my trip to Greece, and I remember finishing it fairly quickly. I said this was the perfect holiday read that I finished on a cruise. Oh, I started in Greece, I finished it on the cruise, that was it. It was light, easy to read, and so funny. Olive is such a likeable and relatable character, and I really enjoyed how this story played out. Perfect if you want something quick and easy. If you have a holiday coming up, or you're going away in the summer months, this will be perfect. I don't think this is a new book by any means. I think it was published a while ago, but so many of you recommended it to me, and I'm really glad. It was a really easy pick it up and don't want to put it down kind of book. So that was that. After all those light, easy reads and falling in love with those authors, I then discovered this. And I feel like if you are getting into reading again, or you only want to read one book this year and you haven't read this already, just do it. I actually gave this to my mum. My mum never reads, and she went on holiday and she read it on her holiday in a few days and loved it. And she kept texting me like, is this going to happen, or does that happen, or I think this will happen, and she had absolutely no idea. She was completely off, and that made me so excited. I don't think I've ever given a book to somebody, like recommend it so much and knew that they would love it as much as me. But The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo is by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This was so gripping and so interesting. I was absolutely hooked. I wish I could read this again and have that same feeling. I read it during the summer months when I sat outside in the garden in the mornings eating my breakfast, and it was just amazing. I loved it so much, and my review on this one was wow. I didn't want this book to end. This had to be one of the best books I've ever read. Dramatic, gripping and dynamic in so many ways. I loved it so much. If you haven't read this yet, you're truly missing out. So it's currently middle of January and I have already read 2 books so far this year, which is honestly wild for me. So I started the year off with The Christmas Wish, and this is Lindsay Kelk. Now I mostly know her because of Twitter, right? I've followed her on Twitter for years and she follows me back. We haven't had that many conversations before, but she's good friends with my lovely friend Louise Pentland, Sprinkle of Glitter. And I know Louise and Lindsay get on really well, and I'm sure that I would also just be such great pals with Lindsay, but she lives in LA and she's mostly actually known, not for Twitter, that's how I've known her, but she's known for her I Heart series. So it's I Heart New York, I Heart New LA, or it's like a whole series. Everyone keeps telling me I'm going to love them and I should read them, but because it's a big series, I feel like once I start one, I'm going to want to read a lot. So I wanted to have a variety of other authors going on until I get to that point. However, a few of you messaged me over Instagram Christmas because I read a Christmas book that I really enjoyed. It was called Snowed In for Christmas, and then a lot of you said if you love a Christmassy read and you finish that, you need to read The Christmas Wish. And I was like, oh, it's on hardback though, and Christmas is coming to an end, so I probably just won't have time. But then at the end of December, this came on offer on Amazon. I'd never read anything from Lindsay Kelk before, and I absolutely loved this. I gave it 5 stars immediately. I read it super quick. She is hilarious. I was giggling out loud. Had to go to a hospital appointment with Benj and we have to sit for hours and hours in the waiting room. And I was sat there actually vibrating, giggling. Benji was like, Brogan. I was like, babe, honestly, there were so many things in this that I just loved. So I'm obsessed with Lindsay Kelk now, and I messaged her on Instagram, told her how much I loved her book, and then she told me to read One Night Like This next. So I have this in my to be read, but we'll go on to that in a minute. But I did love this at the beginning of the year. And then I also read Carrie Soto Is Back, which is Taylor Jenkins Reid again. Now I did read Malibu Rising after I read The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, which is another one of Taylor Jenkins Reid. Taylor Jenkins Reid, it's got an S. I wasn't going to get this on hardback, but I got given a £50 Amazon gift card, which, you know, it's quite a lot of money. And so I got a couple of things in my basket I needed, and then I treated myself to a fair few books, which you'll see. And a lot of them were on offer because of the end of December, like January sales. So I did buy Carrie Soto's Back. It was like £8 on Amazon. I'm actually going to link you all the books I mentioned. So if any of them sound interesting to you, then you should go over and check the links in the description. But this was so good. When I went to search this on YouTube, the first video that came up was I read Carrie Soto's Back and I didn't like it. And I was like, oh no, maybe I'm just not going to read or look at any reviews. I just loved it. This book is mostly about tennis. It's the whole world of tennis in terms of the Grand Slams, the Wimbledon, the Australian Open, the US Open or whatever. It's all the different tennis competitions, and it does go into quite a lot of detail about the game of tennis itself. But if you don't even like tennis and you have like no interest whatsoever, I think you'll still absolutely love it. It's so gripping, and I actually didn't like Carrie as a character. If you've read Malibu Rising, you'll know why. I went into it like, I don't really care for her. And then I came at the end of this book and I just loved her. I loved the book so much, so I gave this 5 stars as well. Loved it. And then currently reading, I am nearly at the end. I've got about 3/4 of the way in actually, of Olive. Loads of characters are called Olive in all these books, by the way. But this is by Emma Gannon, and I've been wanting to read this for years. I actually had it on my Kindle, and then when I had my gift card for Amazon, I picked it up. But yeah, this is a few years old, definitely. But it's all around the themes of women choosing to be child-free and what that looks like in a friendship group when you have friends that have lots of children, or they've just had a child, or they're going through IVF, and then the main character doesn't want children. So each of the friendship circle, each of the different characters is at a different point in their motherhood journey, or choosing not to have children at all. So far I'm really enjoying it. I haven't finished it, but I am enjoying it. I don't think it's going to be a 5-star from me unless something wowie happens at the end here, but I'm really liking it. It's been a nice January easy read, and it's got me thinking a lot about different situations that people are in, which I've enjoyed. I'm also reading Why Has Nobody Told Me This Before by Dr. Julie Smith. I follow her on Instagram, and this is a self-help book. I am not very far in, I'm only 30 pages, and the reason for that is because I'm actually highlighting it and writing notes in it, because it's so interesting. Oh my gosh, this was £8 from the works. It kind of feels like I'm going in for therapy when I read the different chapters, which is why it's taking me a bit longer to read it, because I really want to like focus on the advice, but it's been good so far, so I'm reading that. My mum's just texted me saying she's made me a lasagna and it looks incredible. And look at that. Oh, delicious. Benji's going out with some friends, so my mum's coming over and we're having a girly night in. Cool, anyway, right. Now I'm going to whiz you through all the books I have on my to be read. So if you are looking for something new to read, these are the things that I've gravitated towards. These are the books I'm currently buying and looking at. I have really fallen in love with buying books. I really love the buzz of finding a book that I think I'm going to really enjoy. Now I know what I like. I enjoy reading the reviews on Goodreads from people. I love finding an author I really like and then just seeing if that's the kind of book that would also be something I would enjoy. So at the top, I obviously have Lindsay Kelk, as you saw, On a Night Like This. She told me to read this next, so I just went with what she suggested. I mean, what better way to get a recommendation than from the author themselves? So I think this will be my next read after Olive. I love her style of writing. I think she's hilarious. So this was a definite win for me. I'm definitely going to enjoy that. This book is called Before I Do by Sophie, I want to say Cousins. And I am quite drawn to books about weddings, honeymoons, hen-dos, engagements, because I'm at that stage of life. I just got engaged last year and I'm getting married next year. And I read this in Asda. I love Asda for books. I love the Asda, the Works, obviously your Waterstones, but if I'm doing a food shop, like Sainsbury's, if I go into a food shop and they have a book section, oh, love it. Oh yeah, the upstairs in my Tesco too. Anyway, I haven't had anyone talk about this and I didn't read the reviews. I just saw it and thought, yeah, that sounds like something I'd like. I usually will stand there and read the first like couple of pages. Yeah, so I've got that. Some of these books I would have already shown you in my last video, but I'll try and couple the author together. But this is Eleanor Armas, and this is The Spanish Love Deception and The American Roommate Experiment. I'm clearly very drawn to these like style of covers as well, I've noticed. But again, this is just an author that has blown up on Book Talk. Lots of people talking about them. I think I got them both from the works. Yeah, this one I definitely did, a £5. And yeah, I actually have no idea what the author is like for these, but it looked and sounded like the kind of thing I'd like. Another author, a bit like Lindsay Kelk, who I discovered just from the internet world, is Laura Jane Williams. I've followed her on Instagram or Twitter, I think Instagram, for literally years, and she's really good friends with my friend Callum, and I read one of her books at the beginning of last year. Really enjoyed it. I think I gave it a 4-star. I think it was my second read of the year actually, and I loved her writing. I told myself I would get back into some of her books, and so when I had that gift card and I was ordering loads of books, I saw these for like a £5 each. Well, they were like £5 or £6 on Amazon, and I just ordered them all. So Laura Jane Williams, I got Our Stop, which I did actually have on my Kindle once upon a time, but I got Our Stop, The Lucky Escape, and One Night With You, which is kind of similar title to Lindsay. On a Night Like This, One Night With You. They're very similar titles. Don't know what these are like. I know that Our Stop is about two people that get the same train in the mornings, and they basically, I think they're going to eventually cross paths somehow, but it says at the top, what if you almost missed the love of your life? You know, I'm going to enjoy that. So that looked good. This one says, 2 cities, 2 strangers, a chance encounter that will change everything. And this Lucky Escape says, 1 cancelled wedding, 1 unexpected honeymoon. So you know I'm going to enjoy that, don't you? So this pile is getting a bit silly. Let's put those down. Another author who I've actually had the pleasure of meeting. She follows me on Instagram, or she used to. Hopefully she still does. But Giovanna Fletcher is such a nice woman. Her book, Walking on Sunshine, was what I read first last year. It was a Christmas gift, and it was the first book that I got through, and I liked it. I didn't love it, but I really enjoyed her writing. And when I was at my gym, they had like a charity book sale, and I saw this. The book is set in Dubai. It was a romantic escape to Dubai, leaving Lizzie with no ring, no fiance, and no future. And I thought, well, this sounds like something I would quite enjoy, and I really love Giovanna's writing, so I've got this, Some Kind of Wonderful. I still have Matt Haig, The Midnight Library. So many of you keep telling me I need to read this. It looks like I would get through it fairly quickly. Apparently it's really interesting. It's the multi-million copy bestseller, and it says, Nora's life has been going from bad to worse. Then at the stroke of midnight on her last day on Earth, she finds herself transported to a library. There she is given the chance to undo her regrets and try out each of the other lives she might have missed, which I just think is very fascinating. This has obviously been so highly ranked and lots of people love it, but I haven't read it yet. It comes as no surprise that after loving Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo and Carrie Soto is Back, I of course have been collecting Taylor Jenkins Reid books, and a lot of you have told me I'm going to love Daisy Jones and the Six. This is a very different kind of book in terms of its, I think it's like scripted. Yeah, it's written like this, so it's got like the characters' names like that. I don't know. Either way, someone told me I'm going to really enjoy this, and I know that obviously some of the characters cross over in some of Taylor Jenkins Reid's books. So I've got that. I've got One True Lovers and Maybe in Another Life. I think I just picked these up because I saw them in the works, and I thought, well, I'm surely going to like some of her other books, right? Like eventually I'll get around to reading them all, but these aren't high on my priority list. I got sent a few books. This one was Jenny Bayliss' Meet Me Under the Mistletoe. It's a Christmas book. It was actually part of the Zoella Book Club picks, but I think I might still read it anyway at some point, maybe in the winter time through the next few months, because it says Winter Wedding and a Long-Awaited Reunion. This is obviously about a festive, Christmassy themed wedding, I think. So I'm going to read that at some point, but this was kindly gifted to me. And I was also gifted these two from HQ Stories. They sent me The Dead Romantics, which I actually saw in the works the other day. Ashley Poyston. I have no idea what this is about. Florence Day is a ghostwriter with one big problem. She's supposed to be penning swoon-worthy novels for a famous romance author, but after a bad breakup, Florence no longer believes in love. And when her strict but undeniably hot new editor, Benji Andor, got a Benji, I have a Benji, refuses to give her an extension on her book deadline, Florence prepares to kiss her career goodbye. When tragedy strikes and Florence has to head home, the last thing she expects is to see a ghost at her front door. Not just any ghost, however, but the stern form of her still very hot, yet now unquestionably dead, new editor. I was gifted this, and I don't know if I would have necessarily picked it up from the front cover, but reading the back, this is something I'm definitely going to like. Anyway, Ali Hazelwood at the top said she loved the book. It was funny, breathtaking and hopeful. So I think I'm going to enjoy that. I'm really looking forward to that one. And they also very kindly sent me Never Forget You by Fiona Lucas. The PR at the publishers didn't want to send me books that she didn't think I would like. And she said, I've sort of gauged what you've been reading and I think you'll enjoy this as well. So she sent this over. It says, when Lily meets Ben, another Ben, one hot summer's day, it feels like fate, yet life is about to take them in different directions. So they agree to meet up again in a year's time, but one of them never shows. 5 years later, Ben still wonders how he let the love of his life slip through his fingers. Then a stranger, Alice, arrives in his tiny Scottish hometown with no memory of how she got there. The only clue to her past is the silver bee necklace that she wears. Oh, I have a silver bee necklace. The very same one Ben gave Lily that magical summer's day. Oh, it says it's a beautiful and deeply emotional novel of love and second chances. I think I'm gonna like this. This sounds so good, doesn't it? Now I want to know how she got the necklace and how the connection matches up. That sounds good. I bought this from the works the other day, So Lucky by Dawn O'Porter. This has been out quite a few years, I think like 2019, and it says don't judge a woman by her cover. And on the back it's a very simple back. It just says every woman's story has two sides. Ruby is a mother, she feels like she's failing. Beth is happily married, she hasn't had sex in a year. Lauren is living the dream, her happiness is fake news. What if you knew the whole truth? And I kind of feel like we all go through things, especially as women in friendship circles, and seeing like what other people are doing and they look like they're leading happy, perfect lives, and you always wonder the what ifs. I think I'm going to enjoy all these books, but you know, that was one I thought I'd definitely like. I went down an Ali Hazelwood hole because this book came up everywhere. It even says it's the TikTok sensation, but this is The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood, and she also has Love on the Brain. I don't think they're sequels, but I got them both. They are very much centered around characters that seem to do very sciencey or mathematician jobs. We've got a neuroengineering project in this one. This is a third year PhD candidate. Sciencey stuff on the front there. I don't know. I actually don't 100% know what either of these are about. We've got another Olive. They're basically romance books. Christina Lauren, author of The Unhoneymooners, on the back of this one though as a quote. So many of you want me to read this. When I did a poll on which book I should read next last year, this was so highly ranked, and I haven't seen the movie on Netflix either, but it's The Hating Game Game by Sally Thorne. And again, I think this has been out for a while, but this is very much like enemies to lovers. He's the one she loves to hate. The main character, Lucy, works with a guy called Joshua, and he's been nothing but hostile since the moment they met, and now it feels like nothing matters as much as taking him down. And you know they're gonna fall in love. And yeah, once I've read it, I will watch the movie, which even has a little sticker again on the front. Benji's mum picked this up for me in the charity shop she works at. It's a Page Toon book, If You Could Go Anywhere. And it says, how far would you go for love? I have never read any of Page Toon, but I feel like, as you've probably gauged by all the other authors I seem to love over here, Page Toon is definitely up there as one I think I'm going to like. So many people talk about how amazing Page Toon's writing is, so I'm looking forward to reading that at some point. I have 2 Colleen Hoover books, and every time I go into the works, she has like 10 books all over the shelves. I got It Ends With Us, and everyone keeps telling me, oh my gosh, you're gonna love it. Yes, 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 5 stars. And I really am looking forward to reading it. And the only reason I haven't picked it up yet is because I did want to read it during these colder months. Some people told me this is very, very different to my other rom-com-y style books. I've been told there's lots of themes in here that are quite heavy, but it's still an amazing read. So I think this will be good when I need a bit of a break from all the very stereotypical romance stories going on. I'm going to go into this, especially during these cold winter months when I'm inside, because I don't think this is sort of a holiday book for me. But then I saw Verity as well in the works, and yeah, this says the TikTok sensation with over 200,000 5-star reviews. So tell me, do I need to go into these next? Because I know my friend Katie's reading this right now and loving it. It's apparently very gripping, but this is very different for me. So we'll see how I go with those. Before we close out this video, I know it's been quite long. I have 2 autobiographies. I feel like this is definitely controversial having this one. I've got Prince Harry's book, Spare, and some of my family members didn't take well to me owning this one. Some of them were like, why would you want to read that? Prince Harry this, Prince Harry that. And I feel like it's really hard to form full opinions if you haven't read someone's point of view, and I really want to see what he has to say. This book has had so much hype and media and attention on it, and I don't know if it's something I want to gravitate towards right now. It's not really on my radar as something I want to read immediately, but I feel like there's just been so many spoilers everywhere, and I don't want to be spoiled. I really want to read from his perspective and see sort of what his words are. So that's why I bought this. I really want to know, so I'm going to read it at some point. And I also got Jeanette McCurdy's I'm Glad My Mum Died. I actually read Tom Felton's book at the end of last year. It's called Beyond the Wand. It's quite a light, easy read. I really enjoyed it. And when I was looking into sort of celebrity autobiographies from celebs that I grew up with and watched their movies or TV shows they were in, there was just so much coming up for Jeanette. And I actually watched an interview she did, and she did reveal quite a few of the themes and things in the book. She went through such a turbulent childhood with her family, and particularly obviously her mother, and I was very intrigued to see what she actually says in her words, because I obviously watched the interview and then I thought, I don't want to spoil it anymore, I really want to read it. So this has had incredible reviews. She is an actress, if you didn't already know, and she was on iCarly. That's what made her sort of famous, I guess, the Nickelodeon series. She also did the iCarly spin-off, which is called Sam and Cat, which is the one that had Ariana Grande in it. It says that she was 6 years old when she had her first acting audition, and her mother's dream was for her only daughter to become a star, and Jeanette would do anything to make her mother happy. So she went along with what her mum called calorie restricting, eating little and weighing herself 5 times a day. So lots of difficult themes in here about eating disorders, addiction, abuse, complicated overbearing relationships. I think this is going to feel very heavy to read, but one that I am really looking forward to in the nicest way possible. So there we go. They are the books. I really hope you've enjoyed seeing an insight into what's on my bookshelf, what I've been picking up. I clearly have far too many books right now. I think it's fair to say I have plenty and I should stop buying them. So far this year I am flying through some books, but as a reminder, it's not about that. I have just really been so grateful for what the books have given me in terms of escapism, in terms of downtime, being away from my phone, and being able to talk about books with you guys and in my DMs and with my friends that love reading as much as I do. So if you have any other recommendations, you're welcome to leave them, but I probably will come back to the comment section when I want something new. Or if any of these books I have, you're like, Brogan, immediately rank it higher, let me know, because I know some of you want me to read The Hating Game and It Ends With Us, and I know a lot of you have probably read a lot of these books already, but yeah, if you want to see my reviews, like I said, I'll leave Goodreads below for you, and my Instagram is a good place because I do always share my reviews there and have them in a story highlight. I shared my books. 2022 has got a story highlight, and 2023 I've started a new one. Hopefully I'll reach my 23 books goal this year. I have no doubt that I should hopefully do it if all goes well, but thank you so much for watching this. Can't wait to read your comments. Can't wait to keep chatting books with you guys, and I will see you again in my next videos. Thanks for watching. Bye.